And Mr. Mayor, what happened is we had gone through several iterations of this map, and I think we had nicked it down a little bit to basically be in the Highway 90 corridor, and then what was the original tourism district. And the last state, the information that the council requested for us to add to the map is those parcels that would be affected by the 500-foot rule from churches. So what you're seeing on the map here is the hashed out area is the area for the alcohol overlay, and then the yellow highlighted parcels in there are the ones that would not be allowed to have alcohol sales because they fall within the boundaries of a church.
Unless the church opts out.
Unless the church opts out, correct.
Okay. Well, thanks staff for putting that together. So on Willing Street, the furthest east or furthest south, what building is that? Is that the old Williams building? Wiley J. Williams, D.T. Williams? Is that
the first building that would be allowed for the sale of alcoholic beverages on the east side of Willing Street to the south would be commonly referred to as the old Five and Dime.
So that's the first one that you could?
That's correct.
Okay. How about on the west side of?
On the west side, the 500 feet actually falls into the lot that is owned by Miss Golden and is vacant between Boomerangs and the comic book store.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I appreciate having that there. I think that helps clarify everything for everyone.
Do we need any action from the council or to the committee this time?
Well, that's up to you guys. If you want to move it forward to establish the thing, you can do that. This, like I said, this is the current boundaries that have been established. I think we worked through the boundaries over a couple of iterations, and then what you were looking for this time was just those affected by the church rule.
Pretty important part of the meeting. I will open the floor now for a motion.
Motion to move it forward.
Second.
We got a motion from Councilman Lowry, second from Councilman Snow. Oh, Lowry. Okay. Powell. Any discussion?
Do we have people out here in the audience that wants to speak to this?
Yeah, during discussion, anybody that wants to speak, including the council, anybody wants to come up and speak to the microphone, more than welcome. Just state their name and record. Address for the record, please. We have a motion and a second, and we are in the discussion phase of this item. Seeing that no one wants to talk, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
I have a question on this one.
Wait, why don't Solid?
I remember that the last time that residents came up in reference to the previous map that was shown, and they addressed the council.
Sure.
There was a compromise proposed that day. Would they feel better about this if it was just Caroline Street and Willing? But I see that that's not the case here. I mean, that's what I understood it was going to be, just Caroline and Willing Street, but I see that it is expanded more than just that. I mean, that I'm sorry, Mayor, but that was what you had said. If they would feel okay with that, and it's not been discussed about that since then.
Well, then this is what's been brought to us by staff today. So there's a motion made for this, I assume. So.
I will say, I think any changes we've made to this map was because the council directed us to do it.
Okay.
I do remember the mayor stating that, but it wasn't directed by the council.
Right. Okay. That clears it up then. And I don't think staff would have put this in front of us if it wasn't directed by staff. And Randy's kind of shaking his head and affirming with it.
The map that you have before you is the map that staff was directed to develop for the area that's found.
But the persons that were here that time may not be here today, and
Councilwoman Hawley, the discussion at that time that did include reference to simply Willing and Highway 90.
yes, it did.
There were expressions made by people that were present that would be desirable from their perspective. The mayor indicated his willingness to listen to the expressions that were made, and council then directed staff to develop the map in the form and fashion it is before you today.
I would also remind everybody, including citizens or people out there, is that any action you take today just moves it forward, and it has to be reviewed and voted on 2 more times at the executive committee and the council meeting before it becomes effective. In this case, it'll have to be voted on 3 more times, a first reading and a second reading.
Right.
But I'm just, I just have an issue with telling people something and then we come back with this and they're not notified. But I understand what you're saying, Brian. I mean, I know it has to be voted on, blah, 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 and there's a process that has to be made.
Right.
So that means that all these people that were here previously that are not here today need to be notified so they can come back and have input.
They'll have their opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
That was one of my concerns right there, was because it was brought up that Highway 90 and Welling Street was brought in there, but now it's expanded to Escambia and parts of Myra Street too. And also it needs to be stressed that this is straight bars and taverns. They don't have to serve any food. It's just bars and taverns. And I know myself, I'm speaking, that I would like to see other than just straight bars and taverns. If we're going to expand this, let's make it nice. Let's make it kid-friendly, so the kids can walk in there too. I don't have a problem with taking my grandchildren in a place where they serve food and alcohol. If I choose to drink, I choose to drink. If I choose not to, I don't. But to have more bars and taverns in such a small area, and they can stand up and say, oh, but there's only so many alcohol licenses out there. Hey, I can buy an alcohol license all day long and he can lease it to 5 different people if he wants to. So we are here, and if someone wants to speak on this and say, I for one do not want to see straight bars and taverns. I don't have a problem with any other establishment that serves alcohol or food. And also we were not told that now it has expanded. And I know you stood, and Mr. Rex, who is in remission from cancer, stood up here and you said, well, Rex, how do you feel about having it just on Willing and Caroline Street? And those were your words to him, correct? Isn't that what you said to him, Wesley? So anyway, that is my input, and if there's anybody else in here who would like to give their input, it would be nice to let them talk instead of rushing through a motion real quick. Thank you very much, Casey.
It's open for discussion. We're not trying to rush it. We're not rushing. That's how it works. A motion, a second, and open for discussion. No one gets up, that's on our prerogative.
Yes, ma'am.
Sandra Sharp, 3109 Waterview Drive. Actually, this is not expanded from the last map that was put up. And I do believe that there are a few properties that actually are not included on this one that were included on the previous. So this is actually a reduction and not an increase.
All right. All right. Sir.
Ricky Downs, 5205 Auctionist Drive. I don't personally have anything against the bars and taverns in general. I do think, kind of like the residents, especially the ones that live down here, down there, that did have reservations of having them in predominantly residential area. I understand that it's a mixed-use district, and they know that they live in it. But we know by which roads that are primarily residential establishment, and I think it would be a really good compromise if we could, like you were saying in the previous meeting, if we could limit it to those mostly commercial areas in that same district, Willing Street and Caroline. Maybe expand it a little farther, but it still needs to be, to where you can't have a bar right next door to 2 residents that are just residents. I feel would be a good compromise.
All right, thank you for that comment. Yes, ma'am.
Sandra Sharp, 3109 Waterview Drive. I'm a little confused by the map because most of what I'm looking at is the commercial district. So you have your corridor of Caroline Street, and for the most part, all of those properties are commercial. When you look at Elmira Street, most of those properties, all in that area, are all commercial. That is for future development all around the courthouse, the riverfront, the bistro is included in there, and then it simply wraps around to Municipal Drive, which is where you're talking about moving the water sewer treatment plant, and all of that has been rezoned RC1, which you're trying to promote for commercial development. So I'm at a loss to where all of the areas that they're talking about, this is an RC1, but you already took out all of the residential, areas, and in fact, you've left off on Canal Street, another corridor that is mostly commercial in some of those areas. So I think this is a huge compromise on your part, and I don't think that you could scale this down anymore if you have any hopes of economic development, especially all along that riverfront and where the old concrete plant was. There are no homes over there. You've identified, I think, quite slimly commercial districts and corridors, and I thank you for that.
All right.
I do have one point of order I need to make, Mr. Mayor, if I could. I'm going to seek a legal opinion as it relates to the minor changes that have been made to the ordinance since its review by the planning board. If it's the opinion of the city attorney that it returns to the planning board for its review before action by council, that will be the process we participate in, and she feels that those changes are minor, then we'll bring it to council for the executive committee meeting.
Have you spoke with Heather about this yet?
I have not. I was waiting for council's action as it relates to the item, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Well, we do have a motion. We have a second on the table. Any further discussion? Seeing there is none, please vote. Motion passes. All right, so now you'll direct that to Heather. Heather, do you have an answer, or is that something you'd have to get back to us on? Okay. All right, moving back.